they could, and it's wrong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker.
Call David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for those people listening, that was Catherine Delahunty. And Catherine Delahunty will be the next Labor spokesperson on treaty issues. So watch that space. She will be the spokesperson for the Labor Party very soon, as the Labor Party gives away another policy area to the Green Party. And this is I said spokesperson, which doesn't mean anything more than that. And we have back in the House the man that is known. This man is known, and his political career will be known for yelling out one phrase. For 5 years he's yelled out one phrase. Nobody can actually remember it, but he has been known for the one phrase man. So the one phrase bandit, good to see you back. And I'm sure that we're going to hear you yelling out across the House for the next few months. Now, Mr. Speaker, this budget is a good budget. It's a great budget for New Zealand. It's a budget that we should be proud of, and it's a budget that has gone down well on the streets of New Zealand, because people know the reality of the world that we live in, and they know that this is a good budget, and it's a good budget for New Zealand. Holly Walker. Now let's have a look at some of the speeches we've had today, and I want to go back to Phil Goff. I thought Phil Goff did a great speech for the Labor Party. That was the best speech that has come out of the Labor Party on this debate. Phil Goff is the Kevin Rudd of the Labor Party, and he should be back leading the Labor Party. Why aren't they getting Phil Goff together, getting him back into leadership? Because he was better than anyone else they've put up. That was a good speech from Phil Goff, but it's a speech that was wrong. Phil Goff he talked about some good things, like the free trade agreement with China. Yes, very good. Nobody disputes that that's been very important for New Zealand going forward. And that's not a bad thing. The New Zealand First Party will disagree, but they don't disagree with anything to do with trade. But Phil Goff made a very good point about that. But when you look at what he said, he didn't tell you the full facts. And the full facts were that the Labor Party and the last government put New Zealand into recession before the rest of the world. The rest of the world was pumping, and New Zealand was going into recession because of the Labor government policies that they had enacted last time. And those policies, as Mr Coleman said, would have led to what Jonathan Coleman would have, the Honourable Jonathan Coleman, the Honourable Dr Jonathan Coleman, would have been a $170 billion deficit for New Zealand going forward that we would have had to borrow. If those policies had been continued in the manner that they were put forward, that would have been a disgrace and destruction of the New Zealand economy. That hasn't happened. There has been good, solid, responsible fiscal management by this government in the last 5 years. And Maurice Williamson talked about that, and Maurice Williamson was right. The public know that. The public know that there was a time when we needed responsible management, and that is what has been delivered. And they are thankful for that, and they are thankful for Bill English and the team for delivering that. And that is something that the opposition needs to be aware of. And the New Zealand First Party can laugh over there. They don't even know what fiscal management is, let alone working out what's responsible. And a party that has had no responsibility at all is just sits there and tries to take the worst out of everything. But one thing Phil Goff did talk about, and he was talking about the Kiwi Build program. That was that great building program that I think David Shearer announced at the end of last year. And then didn't he have to come back and say, oh no, those numbers aren't actually quite right. We can't actually do those houses for that price. That actually wouldn't be the reality of what would happen. The Labor Party had to backtrack on the one policy it built itself upon and say that it couldn't actually deliver them. The National Party, on the other hand, has worked constructively with Auckland City. We've worked together to deliver a plan that will increase the housing and brownfields and greenfields developments in our biggest city. And there's nothing wrong with having a big city in Auckland. The opposition, the Green Party, certainly doesn't want a big city in Auckland. Labor Party's talking about trying to stop it. New Zealand needs a city of that size and scale to be competitive. Imagine a New Zealand which didn't have a city that was equivalent to Sydney or Melbourne. If we don't have a city of that nature, we can't provide the jobs and opportunities for our young people. We don't provide the institutions of higher learning that will be at the scale and size that will be competitive with those other countries. And if you look at the modern world, a world coming about based in the Asian basin of the Pacific basin, where you've got cities like Sydney, Auckland, Melbourne, Singapore, San Francisco, LA, the size and scale that it provides of those cities is important for the future of our country going forward. And New Zealand can't compete if we don't have an Auckland that's in that realm. And we will get a city in that realm. And the Green Party says it's a crime-ridden city. That's not true. Crime has gone down. Crime facts have gone down under this government. You look at the statistics around that. Don't make up things in this House. Talk about the reality and what is truthful. This is New Zealand First, sucking the life out of our region. When was the New Zealand First MP ever in our region to actually see what's happening? And I'll say to that member, our region's doing very well, and we're doing well off the back of Auckland's growth, off the back of our growth in our export industries, and off the back of the investment that this government has made in our region. And I see a member here from Northland, and they understand that this is important for their region as well, because that's going to be another growth area once New Zealand, the plans of the national government become a reality. This is a budget that puts New Zealand back into surplus in 2014-15. That is crucial for New Zealanders. And the other crucial thing for New Zealanders is that their interest rates remain low for as long as possible. And this government will deliver that. On the other side of the table, if the opposition had been in, your interest rates would be much higher. You would have a low dollar. Don't get me wrong. The dollar would be at 40 cents if there was a Labor Greens government, because that would be the rest of the world saying that your economy is in tragic downfall because you've got bad economic management. And the Russell Norman approach to economics will give you a 40-cent dollar, but at the same time, he will give you a 9 to 10% interest rate, and at the same time, he will give you a higher unemployment rate, and at the same time, this country will not grow. And under this national government, you've seen growth of 3%. Growth of 3%, which is great in this modern economy of the world, where you've seen a lot of Western countries very difficult to get growth. And the member over there from somewhere over near Gisborne, that's a list member over there, is arguing about that. Those are good growth rates, and compare them to other Western countries, compare them with Australia, compare them with America. We are in the top of the countries that are growing in the Western world, and the National Party has delivered that for New Zealanders at a time of delivering low interest rates. And those are crucial for New Zealanders because that provides jobs, that provides security, and that provides the investment going forward. The National Party has delivered in healthcare and in education. The new initiatives in that area that Jackie Dean talked about in a very strong and positive way are all good for New Zealanders going forward. We're rebuilding Christchurch, a major city that had major destruction with the earthquake. The Labor and Green parties tend to ignore the fact that there was a world recession, and they ignore the fact that Christchurch needed rebuilding. It's all right to stand up there and say what they do about delivering all these things, but the reality is we had to deliver those two initiatives, and we have done them. This is a good budget for New Zealand, Mr Speaker. This is a good budget for New Zealanders out there. People recognise and understand that. They understand that this government and this country, just like they have to be careful with their money, to make the right choices and to work to building a stronger country going forward. This budget is a strong budget that indicates and shows that strength of the New Zealand economy and this National Party. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Cool. Darian Fenton.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much. Talofa lava. I want to thank the previous speaker for